Hello, and welcome to Thrive Conversations. I'm your host, Rowena Morais. Now, these conversations are never about perfection or promotion. It's about lived experience and about supporting women to see what's possible for themselves. Now, what began as face to face meetups in 2017, it's grown into a recorded fireside chat series, reflective, honest, unscripted conversations with women who've built their visibility and credibility, built it in their own way. Now, together, we're going to explore the turning points in their careers and their businesses, the decisions that have shaped their path, lessons learned along the way, because the truth is there's no single right way to show up and to succeed. So, if you're navigating growth, leadership, change, whether in your career or the business that you're building, this is for you. Now, my guest today is Karen Hedley. Karen is the founder and CEO of the Easy Read Toolbox. She is a co founder of the International Easy Read Community of Practice, and she's also a SECNA Women in Social Enterprise Champion 2025. She's incredibly passionate about disability rights, accessibility, and inclusion. Thank you so much for coming on today, Karen. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good.
So I'm going
Thank you
to
for
dig
having
right
me.
in. So,
Yep, yep.
sorry?
Go for it. No, I said thank you for having me.
Oh, super happy to have you. I mean, we've been conversing, on email mainly and bumping into each other on LinkedIn. So it's really great to have this opportunity to drill down into a little bit more detail, get to know you a little bit more. So we'll start with, I guess, your career journey, and just want to get a sense of, very briefly, of course, because we've got a couple of things to cover.
Mm.
Um, can you share a little bit about your career journey and where you are currently in terms of your role, in terms of your business?
Yeah. So I guess I kind of fell into my career a bit by accident, by chance. I actually did a visual art degree because I my university was when it was free. I was lucky, and then realized I couldn't get a job through that. Went back and did a secondary education postgraduate diploma and did some teaching, didn't mind it, went overseas, came back and realized I wanted to do something else, and had a friend who asked me if I'd thought about special education. Um, and I thought, well, I don't know, but I'll give it a go. And actually really enjoyed it. And so basically, I'd worked in disability my whole career. I've had a few other times where I've worked in community organizations and done policy or writing or different things, but primarily worked in kind of the disability area in lots of different ways. And then decided to go into business for myself. I think it's about 7 or 8 years ago now,
Wow.
which has gone so
This
fast.
it does go by really quickly. So, congratulations on setting up your own business.
Okay.
Has visibility and credibility, now you look back, has that
Mm.
been something that's been important to you?
It's been incredibly important, actually. And so Lee started working with Christina from the Disability Leadership Institute, and she really encouraged me to look at LinkedIn and how you can build your profile on there and how you can kind of grow your network through there. And so that was something I just gradually started
So
doing.
when would you say you started with that?
Oh gosh, that it would have been around the same time that I set up my business or just
Okay,
before.
right.
Yeah, so
So very intentional moving into that.
yeah, but just a little bit. I didn't really know what I was doing, and it
Okay.
felt a bit funny at first because it's not sales, but even so, you're really putting yourself out there, and now I feel like it's just become a habit, and I I don't try and like have the biggest number of followers or connections or anything. I do try to keep my connections meaningful to what I do. Mm. But I really like know that I've got a big group of people who are either interested in me or I'm interested in hearing from them. And that one day we might meet or we might chat or
Sure.
whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
is the
LinkedIn's, sorry,
so
I was just going
is
to
the
say,
visibility thing with LinkedIn primarily to support the business or
yeah, so LinkedIn
yes?
has actually been probably the second place that we get most of our clients for the business from.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great. So it is
yeah,
working what you're
yeah,
doing?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
And so
yeah.
that keeps
And
you engaged in it still.
yeah, and I think also like I've always had a passion for sharing my knowledge and my passion, a passion for sharing my passion. That's exactly what it is. And LinkedIn gives you a really nice platform to do that. So
Yes, that's true.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
true. Um, what are some ways that you have, developed your profile on LinkedIn or elsewhere?
Yeah, so I think looking trying to look at it from other people's perspectives. So we know all about ourselves and it's easy to uh miss what is missing from your profile. Like if someone just happens across you, what are they going to understand about you from what's there? And that can be hard to see from our perspective. So trying to look at it from theirs. And I do things like the cover photo that we have on our profile. I try to update that at least no 2 or 3 times a year,
You mean
sometimes
the
more.
the the area that sits behind your profile headshot, the banner? You try
Yes,
to
yeah,
update
the
that.
banner. Yeah, so I
Okay.
try and update that fairly regularly, just with something that's happening in my
That
work
is
or
really interesting because I don't
mm,
hear people do that often. And I personally I talk about the that banner as a kind of personal billboard because
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
So
And
it's
it really
really
catches my eye when I see new
exactly
people.
that's
Mm,
right. So it's really good to hear that you are using it in that way. Now, looking back and hearing about the fact that you've gotten business through the platform, do um, what do you wish you understood sooner rather than later about this?
well, I think the biggest thing for me is whether it's online or in person, I'm not a natural big group networker and I'm not a natural salesperson. So I like small groups. I like intimate groups or one-on-ones, that kind of thing. And you can do that on LinkedIn nicely, but you can also do it in real life. And I guess what I had to learn was to use these things the way that works for me and not try to make myself do it the way that I thought I had to, like, cold calling emails to hundreds of people and that kind of thing. I'd rather just reach out to people who I've had connections with and, try and make regular comments and that kind of thing. And yeah, just actually let relationships build naturally.
And that takes
Yeah,
time, though, doesn't it?
it does.
Is
It
is there
does.
anything that has made you feel uncomfortable
On
about any of
LinkedIn,
these
uh,
activities?
yeah, so as a woman with disabilities, and I have physical and cognitive disabilities, I do find um, face-to-face networking really, really difficult. So I do prefer um, online networking. I really like it actually because everyone gets a turn to talk and to chat with each other and to share. Um, and I will sometimes go out of my way to go to face-to-face networking events. So, for instance, SECNA, who are the Social Enterprise Council of New South Wales and ACT, um, they have quarterly business for good lunches here in Canberra. And as a champion, I run a couple of those a year, but I also attend most of them. And usually there's somewhere between 10 and 20 people there. So that's a nice size group where
It is
uh, you
manageable,
can
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
Yep.
kind of try to do some of those things that I know that I can cope with and not really force myself to do the other bigger things. So I think it's really about learning what works for you and what doesn't. And then sometimes you have to give yourself a little push, but working within what you know works for you is
Of
good.
course. Yes. No, I agree. And I like that you do that. You know what not so much limitations, but you know the space in which you want to operate and you know what you need to keep going and you adjust your environment and activities accordingly. A couple of quick questions on personal brand. Um, is there a key point at which you became associated with any specific expertise and what would that be?
With any specific expertise, did you say?
Expertise.
Sorry. Um, yes, well, I think right from the start, the disability and the easy read thing, disability because that's the background, my professional background, but then also my children had been diagnosed with autism, and then I had my own disabilities diagnosed, but then Easy Read as well. So I found out about Easy Read when it was fairly new in Australia, which is nearly 15 years ago now, and kind of jumped on that because I just really loved it. I'd always loved communicating, and especially in written form, um, and really being able to communicate so everyone could understand. So I just really enjoyed Easy Read and what it was all about. And it was not something that was all that common at first. So when I actually started the Easy Read Toolbox, we only had about 5 competitors. Now we have about 30. So it's a really
That's
a
a lot.
growing, yeah, it's really a
Yes.
growing area. Um, but I think I was lucky enough because I'd learned about it so early on in Australia that I kind of have become quite known for it in that niche. And it's been hard for me. Like, I don't think of myself as an expert, and I'm sure that's the same for most of us. But then I have to remind myself, but actually, there's not that many people in Australia who probably know as much as I do or more. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. You talked a little bit about, meeting people, networking activities. Do you generally focus more on depth, as in having a few strong relationships, or are you working to grow that network? Which of the two, or maybe a combo?
I don't know that I've actually really sat down and thought about that.
Thought about
I
that.
mean,
Okay,
to be honest,
that's an honest
our
answer.
yeah, yeah, to
Yeah.
our clients, for instance, and I know that this is not about a talk about the business, but our clients tend to stay with us. We don't have a lot of clients, but they come back all the time. So we do have an ongoing relationship with them. And I've always just been someone that really enjoys meeting people and knowing people and, you know, understanding what makes them tick and that kind of thing. So I don't know that I really have a
Well,
preference between
okay,
meeting.
that's okay. But how do
Yeah,
you manage the relationships over time? These things take a bit of time and work. So what are some of
yeah.
the things that you do?
Uh, I think that I do try to catch up with people when I can, but my disabilities do make that a little bit more difficult. Um, Probably the main way that I let people know that I'm thinking about them or that, I'm still interested in what they're doing is, if I see a piece of information that I think that they'd be interested in, I'll forward it to them or I'll tag them in it or that kind of thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well, that makes
I'm not
sense.
yeah, I'm not one of those people that's always out having coffee all the time to stay in touch with everyone. But I do like to give something um, to let people know that I'm still here, I'm interested, and yeah, I want to help you.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
You say you post, so how often would you post content on, say, LinkedIn or anywhere else? Maybe on a weekly basis, a couple of times a week, once a week?
Um, I usually try for at least a couple of times a week, but I
Wow.
also sometimes don't feel up to that, and so I try not to push myself. Um,
How do you know what's working?
yeah. To be honest, I actually don't look at the stats for my personal, my LinkedIn. I know that it works because people say I've been following you on LinkedIn, and so now I'm
So you get
reaching out.
feedback. All right.
Yeah,
And are
I
they
do keep an
coming
eye on
through
the.
LinkedIn or are they reaching out in other ways?
Sometimes they'll reach out through LinkedIn, and sometimes they'll come like via the website and that kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
So is it just LinkedIn primarily or any other platforms? Obviously, you have the website, you have your website. Are you on other socials as well? And
We are on most of them, but we're not active on all of them. And I'm not hugely active. I do have a profile, like a business, a kind of, yeah, professional profile on most of them. Um, the way that we get most of our work and I guess professional opportunities is actually word of mouth. So that
okay,
networking and relationships
yes.
and people is really, really important.
All right. This
Yeah,
might sound like a bit of a hard one. How do you manage reputational risk?
gosh. Um, Honestly, it isn't really something that I've spent a lot of time thinking about.
But it's
Um,
in the background, right?
to be brutally honest, the thing that I've spent the most time about is so I separated from my husband 12, 13 years ago, uh, and spent a lot of time trying to work out who I actually was. And that translated then into when I started the businesses into I want to be me. Like I don't, I think people really respond well to authenticity and they want to feel good about working with you. So I've tried right from the start to really be me so that people know who I am and who they're working with and the way that we're going to work together and all of that kind of
That is
thing.
amazing. That is amazing,
Yeah,
Karen. And I didn't say anything earlier, but you've been through a lot. I mean, with your personal issues, with your health, and you just mentioned separation from your ex some time ago, and the things that have happened with your children. I'm really sorry to hear about all of this. It sounds like you've had
life.
quite a few things to deal with, but you seem to be incredibly resilient. And the fact that you've started this business, and I know you had another business before this, it just shows that you are very forward looking, very focused, and you just somehow able to find a way through. Do you have any tips around that?
Honestly, I think I've done most of it because of all of those things, like to give myself the flexibility and uh, to enable me to work in the ways that work for me and all of those kinds of things. And I provide that flexibility to other people, like the other people in my team and clients, like super flexible with everyone we work with. And occasionally we have people who find that difficult, like they don't actually like flexibility. Um, but yeah, I think honestly, it just really helps me
That's
to
your
keep
experience
going. And
there. That's the lived experience
yeah,
because you've
yeah,
been in those situations where you needed that, you can appreciate it, you extend it to others. And perhaps some of those that didn't have a fuller appreciation for it haven't been through, you know, well, it's hard for all of us to have similar experiences, but I get where you're coming from and how you're affording that to other people. Um, if you had to, just maybe another two questions, and then we should be able to close. Um, If you had to talk about your body of work, I like to call it your body of work, basically your portfolio, what you would like to be known for, your legacy, if that doesn't feel too overwhelming.
Yeah.
What would you want to be known for and why?
Well, I really want to be known for all of the work that I've done over decades to try and make things better for people with disabilities. Um, Particularly rights uh, and accessible communication in terms of you can't make an informed decision without understanding the information. So, um, yeah, just really helping support the community to be able to provide information to people with disabilities and other people as well who may find that difficult, and um, giving them opportunities to make real decisions about their lives.
Okay, the
Yeah.
last few are what we call rapid fires. So just
Okay.
very quickly. Have you had any fears about putting yourself out there?
All the time, of course. Doing things like this interview, I worry about what's going to come out of my mouth at any given time.
Oh, you're doing brilliantly, Karen. You're doing brilliantly. How do you deal with criticism?
Um, Constructive criticism is great. I love it. And mostly that's what I get. Um, I am not a fan of criticism for the sake of criticism, like in a mean way, but otherwise, I'm always really keen to learn and to get better.
Okay.
So yeah,
If someone wants to build credibility
Mhm.
over, say, the next 3 to 5 years, what do you suggest that they focus on?
Credibility. Gosh, I think probably looking at that authenticity and becoming a subject matter expert in something, um, and setting yourself that way. So start talking about it, start learning new things, yeah. That's a tricky question.
No, that's all right. Final one. Any shortcuts to avoid?
For me, but I really value that honesty and authenticity. I think don't try to be someone else. Don't try to be what you think an entrepreneur has to be, you know. Just try and be yourself. I think that's really important. And it will save you time in the long run.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on today
Thank
and
you.
sharing your journey, talking about your business, your experiences. It has really been a pleasure. Now, if viewers are keen to learn more about you and your work, how can they do that?
Right, well, obviously you can find me on LinkedIn. I have a profile there. Or you can have a look for the Easy Read Toolbox on most social media or our website, and reach out to me there.
Excellent. Well, thanks for watching Thrive Conversations with me, Rowena Morais, and my guest today, Karen Hedley.
Thank you so much.